I can't tell you about the last time that I got high. I can't tell you about the 87th time that I got high. But I can tell you about that very first time. The first time that I did opiates, it was a feeling that I had found what I had been looking for.
When I took the opioids for the first time, I felt like I could take on the world. I didn't care about anything or anyone.
He told me at some point that they made him feel like Superman. What 16-year-old kid doesn't want to feel like Superman? And I honestly think he had no intention of ever dying from this disease.
One of the things that we were always told was, well, once they hit rock bottom, they're going to wake up. But you don't know that rock bottom is way down there.
There was a month where every morning I was waking up in a different hospital from an overdose.
I didn't use heroin until after I got out of jail, and I overdosed the first time I used it.
That drug is so strong and so powerful that it just calls you.
I'm here because I have no other option. I literally lost everything that I have worked hard for.
Opioids are wiping out our generation.
These kids are battling every single day.
Someone has to do something. Someone has to talk about it. It's an epidemic.
We set out several years ago with Pacira on a program called Choices Matter. It was a patient education campaign encouraging patients and doctors to have a dialogue about non-opioids prior to surgery. It was rooted in the idea that surgery had become an unintentional gateway to opioid dependence and addiction. What we found over the last several years between a number of our different initiatives, whether it was research, partnerships, alignments with celebrities, was that we had to put a face to the campaign.
When we talked to the folks that we wanted to feature, we started hearing all of these stories and seeing their photos and videos, and I think we realized that this was much bigger than just a really, really quick video, that it was going to be larger than just putting a face to the name through, a typical patient testimonial video, right? We really uncovered this story that had so many different layers and needed to be shared at a much higher level.
I think there's a number of keys to success to Gateway. First and foremost, it was the cast. They graciously opened up their homes and their lives, introduced us to family and friends to talk about how their addiction impacted their family. And that really made Gateway something different from other documentaries that we had seen out there already. There was a rawness, there was an honesty to it that these patients and individuals yearned for choice when it came to options following surgery. And the fact that a prescription was prescribed, it really changed their whole trajectory of their life.
Our senior leadership team has been incredibly supportive and passionate behind this project from the very beginning. I think in particular, our CEO, he is, so passionate about education. He's always been, very supportive of all of our efforts to, raise awareness of what's happening right now in terms of the opioid epidemic and the availability of non-opioid options. So I think, first, just having their support was so important for the success of this project. I also think our partnership with Coyne and their involvement with our, non-branded patient education campaign, Choices Matter, from day one was really, really helpful. I mean, they know this campaign. They are just as dedicated to it as we are at Pacira, and they really helped to ensure that what we were doing was authentic. It was heartfelt, and being able to work with them on this documentary was so important for us.
We had an East Coast premiere and we had a West Coast premiere. The day that we launched the film, it became available online. For us, it was critical that anyone who wanted to see this film could see it. So it meant the right partners. We aligned with an organization called CADCA, which represents 5,000 community coalitions, essentially targeting police officers, churches, schools, to syndicate this film to those that might be in need. And it also meant making sure this film was submitted to dozens of film festivals across the country. And thankfully, it was recognized by several, screened by several of them as well.
We will continue to really push this message out there to as many people as possible because, conversation, that's really the linchpin for change here. We know, almost everyone in this whole country has been touched by the opioid epidemic some way. Gateway provided us a very personal and a very powerful and intimate tool to engage people, to bring up this conversation about how surgery can be that gateway to opioid addiction and dependence.
Anyone who worked on Gateway found it incredibly moving. Throughout each of our different shoots, throughout all the travel we did for it, at the end of each shoot, we always kept saying, the story can't become more compelling. And each time it did, countless times, everyone in the room during filming were crying because people that were sharing their stories, they were opening up a part of their heart that they sometimes didn't prior. And we found ourselves really fortunate to be able to be the ones to share this story. It became much more than a PR activation. It became a really poignant moment for all of us to say, change has to happen, and conversation is that linchpin for change. And I think we saw Gateway as a channel for us to say, listen to this film, watch this film, and tell me that these outcomes couldn't have been different if some conversation had happened.
We're at the point where virtually everyone in the United States especially has been touched by the opioid epidemic. Everybody that I talk to has a story, whether it's a family member, whether it's a close friend, everyone knows what is happening with the opioid epidemic, but a lot of people aren't really aware of that surgical connection. And I think that's where we wanted to come in, was to really, raise the awareness about how surgery can be that gateway. And I think, Gateway really provided us the way to take that message and share it out to tons of people.
As far as success for this program, traditionally in the past, it'd be a certain amount of media impressions, or let's make sure it's seen here. For us, it was about making sure anyone who was impacted by the opioid epidemic saw this film.
At Pacira, I think, the goal of our documentary correlates directly back to our mission as a company. And with the documentary, it was bigger than any one product. It was bigger than, trying to get the names of our products out there right. We really just wanted to raise general awareness about, surgery as a potential gateway to opioid misuse and abuse.
Take me to another time when wrong wasn't right, before I was blind.